a regime that is interested in winning the next election regardless of the method. And therefore, it is like everybody is being told, make as much hay as possible while the sun shines. You only pray for certain negative forces not to intervene and conspire to destroy the country. After that, it is management. And in management, it must be, systems must be right, processes must be right for the product to be right. Because at the end of the day, the president should be the last person not to be believable. He must be believable, he must be trusted. And if he's not believable and is not trusted, then it begs the question, who is in charge?
And you're just in time for Business Glide, the only point of call on matters public policy analysis, business and economics at large, hosted by yours truly, Richard Mwenja. It's a distinct honor to always have you on board. We don't take your support for granted. And today we advance in the conversation about whether President Ruto's regime has turned around the economy and perhaps alleviated the suffering among many households here in Kenya. And to help me advance this conversation is none other than the think tank himself, former Minister Kipruto Arab Kirwa. Looking sharp as always, laid back, low energy today. What's up with you?
I had another long interview, and I realized it takes a bit of energy. Especially, I was talking about my background.
Oh.
All the way to Tanzania, all the way to all the schools that I went to.
But that must have taken over 2-3 hours.
It took 2 hours. And I thank God because President Reagan said, it takes others to remind you what you believe in. So I was reminded of some of the things I believe in. And it was a good interaction. Yeah.
And I'm curious to know, when is your book coming out? You seem to be going all out there and sharing knowledge and wisdom.
Well, I think the book will be a product of this conversation. Because, Richard, let me also appreciate what we've been doing for the last couple of months. And I think I'm documenting that book. And you will assist me write it, because now, at my age, I need faster hands in typing all these things.
I get, at a small fee, though. That is the ride I'm
yeah, I always believe that one must pay for any service rendered to him, unless a gift. And you don't gift people every day. Yeah, some days you have to pay for the services rendered. And also you will be able to demonstrate to others that if you can do my memoirs, you can do also memoirs of other people.
True.
And you become a publisher.
Kabsa?
Yeah.
Most people your age normally want to pay youths with exposure. Yeah. Exposure only.
Yeah.
Zero financial gain therein. Do you take concern with that?
Well, I get concerned because you see, every effort must be rewarded, however modest it is. Because in life, the only way you can encourage people is to appreciate them, both in terms of monetary, and also appreciate them in terms of what they are doing, and also allow them to feel they are part of a process that goes beyond them and beyond me. Yeah.
It makes sense. Straight to the day's conversation, and still advancing the conversation about whether the government of the day has turned around Kenya's economy and perhaps alleviated the suffering. Let's begin with matters to do with the appreciation or depreciation of the Kenyan shilling against the US dollar. And this is a government that profiled itself as one that will turn around the situation and give the Kenyan shilling appreciation against the US dollar in record time. You were sort of pessimistic about that move from the government, and seems you're somewhat vindicated in the fullness of time. Looking at how the current Kenyan shillings has performed against the dollar, does it sort of point to a situation whereby even the government of the day did not really have a firm grip of the situation?
Well, I think the team that was with the current president painted a more rosy picture than the reality. And they forgot that there was a government in place that they were part of, and there were people who were thinking on how to manage the economy. Now, they made certain fatal mistakes, fertile in the sense that at the beginning of time, they talked about taxes, and they did not realize that once you tax a component at one corner, there is some ripple effect that we just cut across. For example, the house levy. The house levy has made some companies relocate from Kenya. And if not in totality, they have relocated some of the basic components of production, such that Kenya has become now a distribution outfit for those companies. They have gone to Tanzania, they have gone to Uganda. Because you see, when you make a decision here in Kenya, you must ask yourself, this is an economy that is dependent upon international economic parameters and also regional economic parameters. Once you raise tax here, and somebody can get the same service in Tanzania, they will go to Tanzania. They are not loyal to you. Anybody starting a company is loyal to his profit, the bottom line. So anything that you do, ask yourself, what is the ripple effect of the decision that we are taking? At times, lowering of taxes can also encourage people to do more of what they are doing, and therefore increase the revenue collection to the kitty of the government. And raising of taxes, people will have innovative ways of avoiding whatever they have been doing so as to avoid a certain excess cost. What does it do? It lowers the tax collectible revenue from the market. This therefore means that you do not look at specific tax exemptions or tax levies in isolation. You must look at the totality of the entire production framework.
Very well. Advancing that conversation, this is a government that came on board with the promise of making the cost of doing business in Kenya easy. And looking at the situation whereby we've seen a lot of capital flight in Nairobi Securities Exchange and also some SMEs shutting down by the day. And this is a government that was centered towards revitalizing the economy of hustlers per se, those domiciled in the informal sector. Are you convinced that their promise was dead on arrival if the cost of doing business in Kenya is anything to go by?
Well, I want to apportion it in two ways. One, they made promises that they knew they were not practical, and therefore, but they wanted to win elections with the hope that when we win, we'll fix it. The second one is that I do realize that they did not have all the information, and they did not key in what we call a dry run. When you are doing a project and you realize that now you are at the stage of implementation, you do what we call either a pilot or a dry run. The dry run will assist you realize some of the mistakes that will arise, will assist you to correct those mistakes in a smaller scale. So they went full throttle with the mistakes without doing a pilot to realize how best to mitigate against deviation from the expected results. That is my take, and coupled with that is that it seems it is a regime that is interested in winning the next election regardless of the method, and therefore it is like everybody is being told, make as much hay as possible while the sun shines, because the day of reckoning will be in the next 3 years or so that you will have to bring back the money to the kitty, because many of the people in government today, they are said they financed the last election, and therefore they must be recouping that money and looking for more money to be relevant in the next election. And that explains the issues of governance that are almost all over, whether it is fake fertilizer, fake seed, fake products from other places. It is all in making the money for the next election and beyond.
Very well. And talking matters to do with making money for the next election, it begs the question, Does the government of the day sort of have a misplaced sense of the sacrosanct nature and the sacredness of human life? And why I'm asking this is because we're experiencing a health crisis in this country. Doctors are on strike. And even if you look at the tone of the government, and even the president himself saying those who are sympathizing with the striking doctors shall go ahead and pay the doctors from their own kitty. It begs the question, looking at the suffering Kenyans have gone through this while, are you convinced that this is a government that has its most vulnerable at its heart?
Well, I do not want to audit them, but what I want to say is that their communication is wrong. It is wrong in the sense that when there is a crisis such as the one of doctors, we should not be reading in the same paper that there is wasteful expenditure on luxurious goods that were destined to State House, including the 3 million umbrella. I don't know whether the umbrellas costed 3 million.
Branded umbrellas.
They were branded. So whether you brand it or you don't brand it, you remind us of the wheelbarrow that was costing 109,000. And they were saying it is non-carcinogenic, a term that I think was contrived for that particular period to solve a problem that had already become an embarrassment. So I think their communication is wrong, and what comes out to the public is that they are not human enough. They lack the human face. They lack the empathy that they ought to have for the patients that have suffered. Some of them have lost their own lives. Many babies have been lost in hospital arising out of the doctors' strike, and it is like they found this as a new thing. And yet, this is something that they signed because government is a continuing concern. You cannot say so-and-so made a problem. You've taken over the government. You have signed the budget. And once you are sent to the budget proposals, you have actually owned that, yes, I'm happy about this. So the president at times, I feel, does not get effective advice so that he can improve his communication. He is articulate, but he does not communicate the right way.
Very well.
He's making us feel that he does not care about what is happening about this country.
Would you then encourage him to rise to the occasion as the father of the nation and sort of offer some sense of comfort and empathy through his statements?
That should be the case. That should be more of the rule than the exception. All the time, at the level of the president, he cannot afford to lose that position as the father of the nation. Whether it's a 20-year-old person, once he becomes the president of Kenya, he occupies that respected position as the father of the nation. And that position is something that is a position of privilege, which is really, in his own words, he has said, he has been favored by God, which I have no reason to question the favor from God. But once you get that favor, you must pray harder so that it doesn't get into your head that you are a special breed of Kenyans and it was made by God for the purpose of being here for this particular period, because in its absence, Kenya will be decimated from the face of the earth. So my take is that he should pray harder for himself. And as I said, I always pray for him so that he improves on some of the areas of communication. And also he should also be communicating to his ministers to be less arrogant than they are today. It is very costly to be arrogant when you're in a position of leadership, because that space called public, when they say you are a public person, it means you have lost your privacy. Your privacy has been downgraded so that your public face represents the public estimation. And therefore, once you are a public figure, you ought to be to respect the same public. Otherwise, you will go down in history as the most arrogant regime that was ever seen in Kenya.
It makes sense. And still on the same, so what then do you attribute the condescending tone from some state officers such as CS for Public Service Moses Kuria, CS for Health Susan Akumicha, on the current crisis that we are seeing in the country, whereby oftentimes they're talking down on the people? What could be informing such a tone from a state officer of that level?
Well, I think they say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This therefore means that these are people, perhaps they did not expect to get to those positions, and they never processed it in their mind. Uh, so as to realize that it is just a privilege. It is not a right to be a minister. It's a privilege that you are given by the president, and possibly it's also a privilege that once you get into that position, you must, the first step is to be on your knees, to ask a God to give you the wisdom to manage the diversity of Kenya that it is today. Because managing a country like Kenya is not easy, because there are many intelligent Kenyans, and they expect intelligent answers from ministers, and they expect ministers to respect them so that they don't abuse their collective wisdom, because Kenyans are wise, and in their collective wisdom they expect you also to respect them. That yes, they are paying your salary through their taxes, and therefore you must, the least you can do is to respect them.
Very well. A while back, when the government of Kenya sort of pronounced itself that it's still committed towards sending Kenyan police to Haiti for the security intervention mission, we saw some quarters from the government say they're going to offer prayers to the force. When we were ravaged by drought, we saw some quarters in government say we're going to commit the country to prayers. And now we haven't seen the floods. Instead of going big on policy actions that will help us navigate the same should it happen again, we also seen more of government voices pointing towards prayers. Do you think as a country we are turning slowly into a theocrat, whereby religion and spirituality takes a front row seat in development when policy should be the thing on the front row seat?
Well, I think there are a number of challenges that are faced by this regime. One, I think we've forgotten that your spirituality is personal. And therefore, when it comes to issues of government, there is a need to use your brains than to use your prayers. You only pray for certain negative forces not to intervene and conspire to destroy the country. After that, it is management. And in management, it must be, systems must be right, processes must be right for the product to be right. And in leadership, you must provide a clear vision, and you must make people have collective vision with you, or shared vision. You cannot just say I have a vision, and if that vision is clear to you alone, when you have so many people assisting you to implement, you must allow that vision to be seen by people. And what I've said, Richard, before, is that this regime took a manifesto and almost told us, if you don't know anything about the manifesto, then you don't know anything about the Kenya Kwanza, and therefore you are a saboteur from Azimio.
Now, an enemy of progress.
An enemy of progress. The reality is, a manifesto needs to be translated into a policy document where government officers understand. And because they have been doing this thing for many years, some of them for 30 years, some of them for 20 years, some of them for even 40 years. And they are now about to retire, and they know this is how things are done in government. And the only way they know is they have been doing it, and they know that you do it through policy direction. You just don't go picking manifestos from political parties and you expect that to be implemented in a government office. You're supposed to translate that document into a policy document for implementation. So I still beseech them to still do that, to ensure that the policy pronouncement by the government is in tandem with the realities on the ground. So that the president does not announce one thing today, tomorrow is almost contradicting what he said yesterday. Because at the end of the day, the president should be the last person not to be believable. He must be believable, he must be trusted. And if he's not believable and is not trusted, then it begs the question, who is in charge? Are we on autopilot? Or are we on issues that somebody makes pronouncements today and tomorrow is contradicting himself?
So for the president, you're saying Caesar's wife must be beyond reproach?
That is the point. That's the point. And even I think I would recommend to my sister, the First Lady, you cannot say prayers alone will solve all the problems, including the soils are going to be not to need any fertilizer in future. He might be reprimanded by the people who are importing fake fertilizer. And if the president is one of them, then he's in trouble. She's in trouble.
Management by prayers won't work for this country? It won't make it the Singapore of Africa?
No, you don't. You pray and work. That's why people gave us brains. God gave us brains. So that you just don't pray and assume things will realign themselves according to divine intervention. God says he helps those who help themselves. So the same God, the God helps those who help themselves. We must help ourselves so that God can lift us from the abyss of destruction.
Manna won't come from heaven?
No, it came one time, wakati wa Moses. But remember, some guys who took more than a fair share of their manna, and that manna rot in the house. You remember the story?
True.
Yes. We are taking more share than the divine intervention that God has given us. Yeah, you cannot just pray for the soil to change.
Your local pastor is watching Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Would you like to take back your words?
Why should I take back my words?
Oftentimes they say you sort of seem to have taken a paradigm shift from religion and spirituality. Perhaps why you don't want the country to be big on prayers.
No, we can pray, but you just don't hypnotize people by prayers. Pray but work. Pray. Use prayers to soften the evil spirit and destroy it. But to use the brain to solve the earthly problems that we have. I cannot just pray and expect that my car to take me to the house without using some fuel. Prayers will not answer the fuel problem. I'll pray, I get to the house safely, but I have to fuel the car.
So you think the vision of having your farm need no more of inorganic fertilizers is sort of just fertile imagination and all that?
It's fertile imagination. It could be hypnosis, or it could be something now that is bordering on Shakahola.
Kasumba?
Kasumba, Shakahola. Because what happened to Shakahola? Who are the victims? Who are the perpetrators? All these things. You know, you cannot take people on a merry-go-round for long. They will refuse.
In the fullness of time?
In the fullness of time, they will refuse. And they will say no. And when they say no, please don't blame them. You underrated their capacity.
The revolution shall be televised?
Yeah, the revolution
shall be televised.
One day.
It will.
One day it will. It will. It may be sooner than later. Yeah.
So no need to underestimate the public intelligence.
Don't underestimate the public intelligence. And usually they say the leader is not the one talking. It's the people who are listening.
Well, there you have it. The leader is not the one talking. It is the people who are listening. I hope I got it right.
Yes.
Very well. That has been our conversation today. Talking on matters, the government of the day has put the best foot forward towards alleviating the suffering that seems to be domiciled in many households in this Kenya and among the faces and lives of many taxpayers. Helping me dissect into that conversation was none other than former minister and a renowned think tank that is Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Always an honor to have you on our editions.
Yep. It's also my pleasure. It makes me think and it makes me also get alive to the realities of the day, that not all is well. We need to do better. Yeah.
From our end, we also hope that these sessions make you age gracefully.
Well, I think, they re-energize me. And in the process, I get what at times you get from coffee. They say coffee at times injects some new oomph into your system. Yeah, so I hope it will remain the same for many years to come.
For many years to come.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Until next time on Business Glide, it's always a pleasure to have you on board. Up next on your screen is the Business Glide African Proverb of the Day.